Interior The Daily Bugle.net set, evening. All black.
He is a menace.
Cut to J. Jonah Jameson sitting in his chair. He stares hard, directly into the camera. His gaze burns into the lens.
He must be found, captured, and brought to justice. Vigilantes with superpowers have no place fighting crime and risking innocent lives.
A picture of Peter Parker pops up on screen.
Peter Parker, a simple high school student? Wrong. International threat. And the government has decided to do nothing about it?
The picture of Peter shrinks to a picture-in-picture and begins to show random clips of Spider-Man in action, leaving an almost fuming J. Jonah Jameson huffing at the camera. J. Jonah catches himself and adjusts his mustache before continuing.
It is clear that the government doesn't care about us, the people that sign their checks. Well, I'm not going to stand for it. I am a man for the people. Today I invited a guest who thinks he might have a solution. Ladies and gentlemen, Spencer Smythe.
The camera cuts to Spencer Smythe, late 50s. He fixes his glasses and awkwardly adjusts himself in his seat before he clears his throat to talk.
Yes, thank you for having me, Mr. Jameson.
Jameson nods in approval. He gets right down to business.
Let's get to it. How do we stop this pest from endangering the fine people of New York with his antics? Well, as you know, despite the revelation of Parker's identity, it seems that he remains fairly active in New York and has been sighted on a variety of crime scenes and camera footage.
J. Jonah scoffs at the statement. A plethora of pictures of Spider-Man in action appear on the screen.
He is probably helping commit all those crimes.
Spencer Smythe doesn't really respond. In fact, he seems irritated that Jameson interrupted him.
Anyways, through the technology created at Smythe Labs, I have formulated artificial intelligence-based androids designed to take out and capture Spider-Man using non-lethal means. These robots will then take him to the proper authorities, where he will be persecuted to the full extent of the law, or whatever the case may be. Well, I want to see these babies in action. Did you bring anything for us to look at?
As if on cue, robotic-like footsteps could be heard moving towards the stage.
I'm glad you asked, Jameson. I did bring a prototype.
A sleek-looking, chrome-laced robot walks onto the set and stands next to Jameson. He eyes the over 7-foot-tall robot up and down as it looms over him. For the first time in a while, J. Jonah looks a little nervous.
I see. And what are you calling this behemoth of a thing? This prototype is known as SS-1, its entire physical and mental profile is modeled after the famed hunter, Sergei Kravenov. From Hunt in the Wild. I love that show. I watch it all the time with my wife.
Spencer gives a slight, almost forced nod of approval.
Yes, the very same man. He was nice enough to lend us his unique genetic blueprint. As a result, these spider stoppers are agile, fast and can track anything. They will be able to not only find Spider-Man but incapacitate him as well. Let me demonstrate.
Spencer stands up and walks over to the spider stopper. He pulls out a remote control from his pocket and tweaks it a bit. He pushes a button and robot lights up. A production assistant rolls a mannequin out to the set. After a moment, Spencer pushes another button and the eyes light up. Awaiting command.
Commandeer target.
Affirmative. The spider stopper springs high into the air and comes landing down on top of the mannequin, gripping it in a bear hug.
The spider stopper has 35 ways to incapacitate someone without causing fatal harm, including nets, tasers and plain old brute force.
Spencer pushes a button on his remote and the spider stopper begins to squeeze the mannequin. However, it squeezes it too hard and it explodes in a sea of plastic chunks. Spencer's face turns red.
That wasn't supposed to happen. My apologies.
Jameson grins. His eyes light up with excitement.
Spider stopper? More like spider slayer. I love it. The spider stoppers are not quite ready for the street use yet.
Jameson ignores Spencer and goes back to staring into the camera.
Did you see that, Spider-Man? Your days are numbered. Turn yourself in now and save yourself the grief.
Spencer slinks off stage, embarrassed by his failed demonstration.
Next week on thedailybugle.net, we will have more updates on the nefarious Spider-Man. Stay vigilant, America.
A producer yells cut and the lights dim a bit as J. Jonah rises out of his seat.
Brittany, where is my coffee?
A lowly intern, Brittany, runs up to Jameson with a cup of coffee in hand. He grabs it and takes a sip. His face grimaces.
I said 3 creamers. Damn it. You had one job.
Oh. I'm sorry, Mr. Jameson. Do you want me to go add more?
No, you idiot. Just go away.
Okay sir. There is someone waiting in your office, by the way. J. Jonah massages the brow of his nose.
Brittany, I told you to leave.
Brittany shyly nods before slinking off. J. Jonah Jameson makes his way to his office. Interior J. Jonah Jameson's office, early evening. J. Jonah walks in to see MJ sitting at his desk. She doesn't look too happy to see him. Hello, Mr. Jameson. Jameson seems annoyed as he gives MJ the death stare.
Look, MJ, selling freelance photos to the Bugle doesn't give you access to my office. How did you even get in here?
MJ is unfazed by Jameson's yelling. Brittany, let me in. Jameson once again massages the brow of his nose as he mumbles to himself.
I swear I'm going to fire that girl.
MJ stands up and pulls an USB drive out of her pocket. I have more photos for you.
I don't want more photos. I want Spider-Man. You are in contact with him, aren't you?
MJ remains calm. You know it's not that simple, Jameson. You also know that a good journalist never reveals their source. Jameson gives his signature frown to MJ before opening his mouth again.
You are a high school student.
MJ doesn't respond. She only stares him down until he says something.
Fine. How much do you want for these?
500.
500? Are you crazy? I will give you 200.
500 or I take these to the Sunday. Jameson looks pissed. Right before he speaks, there is a knock at the door.
Who is it?
Spencer Smythe walks in. Jonah gives him a sly look before turning back to MJ. 400, take it or leave it. Now get out of my face, kid. Close the door on the way out. MJ delivers an annoyed look to Jameson, who shoos her away with a hand motion. She turns to walk out. As she does, she eyes Spencer up and down before leaving. When she closes the door, she immediately puts her ears to the door to listen into the conversation.
Who was that?
Her? Oh, she is my current cash cow. She brings me the best photos and videos of Spider-Man.
I see. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about that wonderful demonstration on the air. That wasn't supposed to happen like that.
Jameson shakes his head.
Nonsense. That was absolutely perfect. When can we send the prototype out? Send it out? Are you crazy? We are months away from that. It looked ready to me.
Spencer analyzes Jameson's eyes. He can tell that he wants to hurt Spider-Man.
Look, Jameson, when I agreed to take your funding, I didn't do it to harm anyone. The only way we can guarantee the safety of the people is to kill him.
Interior outside of Jameson's office, continuous. M.J.'s eyes goes wide as she listens in on Jameson's booming voice. Kill him? MJ sprints off down the hallway. Interior J. Jonah Jameson's office, continuous.
I'm not here to kill people. I'm here to help the world. Ridding the world of this menace and others out there like him will only help the world, Smythe. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. Besides, I'm paying you bucks here. We need to find him now before it's too late.
The hesitant look on Spencer's face only increases as he gives in to Jameson. Jameson sees this and hits him with the haymaker.
Not to mention, I got you that interview with Norman Osborn. You can finally get a decent lab and really take care of that kid of yours.
Spencer relents.
Fine. I can send SS1 out on patrol tonight to see what it can find. Excellent. See, that wasn't so hard.
Jameson stands up. walks over to Spencer and places a hand on his shoulder.
This is all for the best. Trust me.
Spencer gives a nod of reluctance. Exterior abandoned subway station, night. MJ wears all black as she creeps her way through the train lot. She eventually reaches a train cart and knocks on the door. No answer. She walks around the other side only to find nothing. When she turns around, she sees a blonde Peter Parker staring back at her. He wears an all-red suit with a blue sweatshirt on top of it, sort of an ode to his original homemade costume. Peter. She runs to him and collapses in his arms. They embrace and kiss each other.
Hi, MJ. It is good to see you.
I miss you so much.
I miss you, too. How is Aunt May?
She is doing okay. She keeps having to clean up graffiti and trash left in front of her house, though. And a lot of hate mail. Peter nods. It seems that his once whimsical demeanor is diminished, worn out by hiding in the shadows.
I need to go see her.
No, you need to stay put, Peter. Peter relents to the statement. He knows that she is right. He walks over to the train car and opens it, revealing a bed and desk with a bunch of tech on it. MJ looks on in astonishment. Looks like you have settled in pretty nice. He nods in agreement. M.J.'s eyes land on the costume that he wore in Europe hanging on the wall. Why don't you wear that one anymore? Peter looks at the old costume on the wall.
It's too glitchy. I can't fix it without access to certain materials. I basically disabled all of the features on it.
MJ nods. I see.
Just working with what I got.
How are the new web shooters?
I was able to do some makeshift stuff to the shooters so I can use impact webbing, but otherwise, it's back to basics.
MJ takes off her backpack and opens it. She pulls out a Tupperware of food, some money, and an old smartphone. The pasta is from Aunt May. The money is from the photos. Peter takes the old smartphone and examines it.
What is this for?
That's my old cell phone from middle school. It has no service but you can still get on Wi-Fi. I figured we can use this to stay in touch instead of always meeting in a shady train yard.
Makes sense.
Peter pockets the cell phone, then smiles and nods as he grabs the container of food.
Oh man. Yes. I've been missing her cooking.
They stand in silence for a moment as MJ admires Peter digging into the meal. She eventually breaks the silence. Peter, what are we going to do? We can't keep doing this. We have to find a way to clear your name. Peter ignores her, engulfed in the wondrous flavors of the food in his hand. Peter. Peter.
Huh.
There are people out there trying to kill you, that want you dead.
I mean, the entire underbelly of the New York crime syndicate wants me dead. That's nothing new.
What about J. Jonah Jameson?
Oh, thanks for reminding me.
Peter reaches into his backpack and pulls out an USB drive. He hands it over to MJ.
Here are the latest batch of photos. I got some pretty awesome ones.
MJ looks annoyed now. Damn it, Peter, listen to me. They are sending some kind of robot after you. You gotta skip town or something until we figure out what to do.
And leave the city with no protection? That's insane.
No, what's insane is that you are spending all of your time fighting crime and sleeping in train cars because the entire world thinks you are a criminal and a murderer. You have to stay off the grid. Peter goes silent. He knows she is right. You can't save everyone, Peter. Especially when you can't even save yourself.
MJ. I can't. I won't leave. It just wouldn't be right. I have a respawn.
I know, Peter. You are going to do what you want. Look, I have to go. I can't be out this late without my parents getting suspicious. Peter nods and moves in to embrace MJ.
I promise I will stay out of trouble until we can sort all of this out.
You better.
Go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go take a swing to clear my head.
MJ breaks the embrace and walks off into the night. By the way, take a shower and wash that costume. You smell terrible. Exterior rooftops, night. Swoosh. Spider-Man swings through the air with ease. He appears majestic as he twists and turns through the cool breeze of the night sky. His peace and calm is broken as his Peter Tingle is activated. He immediately shifts in the opposite direction as SS-1 flies through the air and tries to grab him but misses.
Whoa! What was that?
Spider-Man swings and sticks to a nearby building and assesses the situation. As he lands, he is blasted by an electrical current coming from the arms of SS-1 as it flies towards him. Zap!
Ayok!
Spider-Man is briefly knocked unconscious, causing himself to fall off of the wall towards the rapidly approaching concrete. He wakes just in time to throw a web out and swing but is immediately tackled mid-air by SS-1, knocking him to the ground.
Man, you sure are persistent.
He manages to break the hold of SS-1, following with a swift kick to the chest. Pow! SS-1 goes flying into a nearby grocery store front. People begin to gather and pull out their phones. Spider-Man begins to run full speed towards SS-1 as it stands up. He fires up 3 balls of impact webbing at him, wrapping him up in a tight bundle. Spider-Man flips high into the air, throwing out a string of webbing over a light post and attaching it to SS-1. He strings him up as some of the crowd cheers. Spider-Man approaches the upside-down hanging robot and looks at it hard.
You are going to have to try a lot harder than that if you want to take me out.
He finishes his statement by ripping the head off of the robot. Bzzz. Taking it with him as he swings off into the night sky. Interior Kraven's lair. Sergei Kravenov sits in a luxurious wicker chair at his ivory-toothed desk. The room is filled with a variety of awards and plagues sit on a slew of different shelves. His award for Huntsman of the Year sits proudly next to his Emmy for Best Reality Show. Sergei plays with his hunting knife as he watches on his laptop a live feed from SS-1 as it fights Spider-Man. He scoffs at the terrible performance.
Stupid Smythe. No technology will ever beat the raw power of true hunting. Pathetic.
Sergei looks on as he watches Spider-Man approach the robot.
You are going to have to try a lot harder than that if you want to take me out.
Sergei smiles.
Don't worry, Spider. The hunt is on.
He jams his hunting knife into the table. Exterior subway station, afternoon. Aunt May stands at the train platform and waits for the train. She looks tired, she has had a lot of sleepless nights since Peter went on the run. As she stands at the platform, she sees a group of teens looking and pointing at her. They quickly avert their gaze as she makes eye contact with them. The train pulls up and she enters. She sits across from an old lady who is reading the newspaper. The headline on the front page reads, "Should Spider-Man be brought to justice?" Aunt May looks away from the lady, her eyes land on the group of teenagers. They give her a menacing gaze, this time not breaking the stare. This time, Aunt May averts her gaze as the train comes to the stop. She exits, followed by the group of teenagers. Exterior streets, afternoon. Aunt May walks down the busy New York street. As she reaches an intersection, she glances back to see the group of teens moving in her direction. As the light changes, she crosses the street. As she continues to walk, she sees another suspicious teenager standing on the sidewalk ahead of her. The teenager gives Aunt May an evil stare. She decides to duck down an alley. The teenagers group up and begin to follow her. Exterior alleyway, afternoon. Aunt May tries to remain calm as she walks down the alley, but as she glances back, she sees the 3 teenagers gaining ground on her. She begins to run, but the teenagers manage to surround her, blocking her path. "Where are you going? Leave me alone. You think we don't know who you are? You are Spider-Man's mom." "I'm his aunt, not his mom." The teenagers all laugh. "We really don't care, lady." The 3rd teenager remains stoic, he seems to be upset. He looks hard at Aunt May before he speaks. "Your nephew put my dad in jail. It ruined my family." Aunt May scoffs. "If my nephew put your dad in jail, he probably deserved it." This sets off the kid. He lunges towards Aunt May. She reaches in her purse and pulls out a taser, shocking the kid and sending him to the ground. Bzzzt. The other 2 look on as she sparks the taser in a threatening manner. "Who's next?" The two remaining teenagers look at each other. After a second, they help their friend to his feet and make their way out of the alley as fast as possible. Aunt May's face carries a sense of accomplishment.
That was impressive.
Aunt May turns around to see Peter standing there in his costume. He is not wearing his mask. Peter. Aunt May runs to Peter and they hug. What are you doing here?
I wanted to check in on you. MJ told me about some of the things you have been dealing with and I had to come see you.
A look of weariness washes over her face as she speaks to Peter. Yeah, things have been rough, but I've been able to handle myself. Peter glances at the taser.
I see that.
Aunt May notices his glance. This? I mean, it's better than a gun. Her nose twitches as she leans in and smells Peter. Jesus, Peter. Have you been wearing that costume for days? Peter smells his armpits.
Give or take. It's kind of hard to get access to decent laundry when you are on the run.
Aunt May shakes her head. No. No nephew of mine is going to be swinging around the city in dirty underwear. We are going to my house right now to do laundry.
Aunt May, we don't need to.
Don't argue with me, Peter. My house. Now. Peter relents to his Aunt May.
Okay, fine, but we will take the safer route.
Aunt May's eyes go wide. Safer route? Oh no. Peter scoops up Aunt May and web slings into the air. Swoosh. Ah. Exterior Aunt May's house, afternoon. Peter and Aunt May land in front of her house. Her hair is wind-swept. She playfully hits Peter as he releases her. How was that safer? Never do that again. Peter only smiles as Aunt May gets herself right. Peter's smile fades as he looks at the nearby wall and sees the words "Spider-Man is a freak" sprayed in red ink. Aunt May notices him seeing it. That's been there for about 3 days now. Every time I take it down, someone just puts up something else.
Aunt May. I'm sorry.
Aunt May gives Peter a sincere look. You have nothing to apologize for, Peter. You are a good person. We are going to find a way out of this. She gives him a hard hug but is quickly reminded why they are there. Phew, let's get inside and get those clothes clean. Interior Aunt May's living room, evening. Peter exits the shower with a towel around his waist. He walks to the couch to see a fresh pile of clean clothes, including his costume, neatly folded. Aunt May enters the room with a cup of tea. I made you some tea.
Man, it feels so good to be home. Even if it's just for a moment.
I'm glad to have you home. Even if it's just for a moment. There is a bit of silence before Aunt May speaks. Peter, we are going to get through this, but you have to remember to save yourself first. You can't be out here tracking me and keeping an eye on me. Someone will find you. Peter doesn't like that.
What's the point of me even having these powers if I can't use them to protect the people I love?
How can you protect the people you love when you can't protect yourself? Peter smirks.
MJ said the same thing.
Aunt May smiles at the mention of MJ. MJ is a smart girl. The moment is interrupted by a knock at the door. Aunt May's eyes go wide. What? Who is that? Peter, hide. Peter quickly gathers his things and runs to the bathroom. Aunt May goes to the door and looks through the peephole. Who is it? Aunt May looks through the peephole to see a strong, tall, dirty blonde Jean Doolf standing in front of the door. Jean Doolf. Detective for the NYPD. I wanted to talk to you about your nephew. Aunt May yells through the door. The police have already come and questioned me about Peter. I have nothing new for you. Ms. Parker, I'm not here to grill you about Peter. I'm here to help him prove his innocence. Aunt May hesitates before she opens the door. Help Peter? How? May I please come in? Aunt May realizes she is being rude and makes way for Jean to enter. Yes, of course. Jean slowly enters the room, her eyes scan the entire living room. Nice place. Thanks. Look, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just need to know if you can get in touch with Peter Parker. That's none of your business. A wave of frustration washes over Jean's face. I get it. You want to protect him. I understand that, but I can help. How is that? I would rather talk directly to Peter about it. Anything that you want to tell Peter, you can tell me. I think there is evidence out there that can clear Peter's name. Aunt May shoots a hard look. She isn't sure if she can trust her or not, but also realizes that she doesn't have much choice. I'm listening. After Mysterio's death, Oscorp bought and obtained what was left of his technology in an attempt to use it in their own experiments. It was all under the radar. Very hush-hush. Aunt May looks confused. How does that help Peter? I believe that somewhere in that technology is proof that Peter is innocent. Aunt May's look of confusion turns into one of doubt and suspicion. And how are you planning to obtain that proof? That's what I wanted to talk to Peter about. I want him to infiltrate Oscorp and find it. Aunt May shakes her head. No way. I'm not going to tell Peter to break into a high-tech building. Are you crazy? Why can't you just get a warrant? I can't obtain a warrant on a suspicion. I believe that Oscorp is covering up a lot more than just Spider-Man's innocence. I need proof. And you want to send my nephew to go get it for you? Jean nods. He might be the only who can. Aunt May takes a moment to process this. Jean sees her gears turning. Look, I believe that Spider-Man is a good person. He has saved countless lives time and time again. I truly believe he is innocent and I only want to help. Aunt May stares at Jean. She wants to believe her but can't quite trust her yet. If I see him, I'll bring it up to him. Jean nods and flashes a quick smile. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a card. If you or Peter want to reach me, here is my card. Aunt May takes the card from her as Jean moves towards the door. I'll be in touch. Aunt May closes the door, leans against it and takes a deep breath before she moves towards the bathroom. Peter, you can come out now. The coast is clear. I have some good news for you. No response can be heard on the other side of the door. Peter? She opens the door to find an empty bathroom with the window wide open. Damn it. She looks down at Jean's card in her hand long and hard. Exterior Spencer Smythe's condo front entrance, night. Spencer Smythe approaches his front door after a long day at work. He looks exhausted. As he pulls out his keys to unlock his door, he hears a familiar voice.
You are an embarrassment, Smythe.
Spencer turns around to see Sergei standing in front of him.
Sergei. What are you doing here? I am here to clean up your mess. Your pathetic robots are sullying the name of Sergei Kravenov.
Spencer looks nervous as he stares at the towering Sergei.
Sergei, look, that wasn't my call to send the spider stopper after Spider-Man Jameson. You are weak. You let yourself be controlled so easily. You are not worthy. Sergei, wait. You know that this is a work in progress. Building these robots in your image has been a challenge.
Sergei scoffs.
No robot will ever match the rawness of being a true hunter. The smells, the taste, the feeling. A robot can't do that. I agree, but we can come close. This is why I will go after the man spider myself and show the entire world what it means to be a hunter. No more robots doing the work of a man. Sergei, please. Just come inside and I will show you the prototype for SS2. I think you will love it.
Spencer turns around to unlock the door. When he turns around, Sergei is missing.
Damn it, Sergei.
Interior Spencer Smythe's living room, night. Spencer walks into the living room to see his teenage son, Alistar Smythe, playing video games.
Good evening, son.
Alistar looks over at his father and nods.
Hey Dad, how was work?
Spencer sighs before he speaks.
Another long day.
Alistar pauses the game and makes his way towards his father.
I got an A on my science experiment today.
Spencer perks up at the news.
Really? That's great. I'm proud of you. I learned from the best.
He embraces his son and gives him a long hug. Interior school cafeteria, lunchtime. MJ sits at the table across from Ned and Betty. Flash sits next to MJ as he watches an episode of Hunt in the Wild on his phone. Man, Kraven is such a beast. Betty scoffs at Flash. I don't see how you can watch that. How can you not? His live streams are incredible and he has like 125 million subscribers. Flash looks on in excitement as he watches Sergey wrestle a black bear. He takes it down no problem and tries to strangle it. Look at him. He is literally wrestling a bear and winning. Betty flashes disgust at Flash's statement. Watching him hunt exotic animals. It's barbaric. Right, Ned? Betty elbows Ned, who perks up. Yeah. Barbaric. MJ raises an eyebrow as she looks at Betty and Ned. I thought you two broke up. Betty smiles at Ned, waiting for him to explain. Well, we figured that since it's our last month in high school that we would spend it together. Betty nuzzles against Ned. He puts his arm around her. After what happened with Peter, it made us realize how quickly things can change. MJ flashes a slight hurt look across her face. Betty notices. Oh. Sorry. I didn't mean to. It's fine. Have you seen Peter lately? MJ eyes Ned and Betty. She feels like they don't need to know that. No, I wish. I still can't believe that Dickwad Parker is Spider-Man. MJ ignores Flash. Betty keeps pressing the question. You haven't seen Peter at all? He hasn't tried to come and see you? MJ hesitates before she answers. No. No, he hasn't. Betty turns to Ned. Ned, if you ever go on the run, you better come and try and see me. I mean, that could be kind of hard. But you will figure it out. Betty gives a big smile, Ned just politely nods. Flash's eyes go wide as he stares at his phone. Guys, I think you might want to see this. The group gathers around the phone to see a live stream from Sergei Kravenov. Interior Kraven's lair, continuous. Kraven sits in his wicker chair as he strokes his pet jaguar.
For the last decade, I have hunted down and either captured or killed every dangerous animal on the planet. I am the world's greatest hunter.
Kraven stands up and begins to walk towards the camera.
I have come to realize that there is bigger predators out there than lions and bears. It is only my duty to stay true to the legacy of the hunt and track this predator.
Kraven pulls out his blade and plays with it before he speaks again.
This is why I am officially announcing my next hunt. I will track down the elusive international criminal, Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man.
Interior cafeteria, continuous. M.J.'s eyes go wide as she hears Peter's name. No. Interior Kraven's lair, continuous.
You will be able to watch me hunt the spider live on this channel. Keep an eye out. The hunt begins now.
The broadcast cuts out, leaving only a Hunt in the Wild logo. Interior J. Jonah Jameson's bedroom, continuous. J. Jonah stares at the Hunt in the Wild logo for a moment before he hops out of bed.
So much for my day off.
Interior J. Jonah Jameson's living room, continuous. J. Jonah makes his way downstairs and grabs his laptop bag. As he grabs his keys, he hears a familiar voice. His son, John Jameson. Dad. Where are you going? J. Jonah turns around to see his wheelchair-bound son staring back at him.
I have to go into the office. Something came up.
John looks a little disappointed. Dad, listen. I get it. Ever since I've been in this wheelchair, you have been trying to make it right. A look of shame washes over J. Jonah's face for a moment.
Son,
It's not Spider-Man's fault, Dad. It was an accident. He saved lives that day. He saved my life.
He ruined your life. He ruined our life.
John shakes his head. He didn't ruin anything. J. Jonah kneels in front of John.
Son, a man like that can't be out here doing the things that he is doing. He causes more harm than damage. Look what he did to you.
Dad, it's fine. Once Osborn finishes the Jupiter suit, I will be back on my feet in no time. J. Jonah shakes his head.
It's not enough. Spider-Man still needs to pay.
Dad. He stands up, makes his way to the door and leaves. Interior Oscorp Tower Lobby, afternoon. Aunt May paces the lobby of the Oscorp building. She is eventually approached by a security guard. "Ma'am. Can I help you?" "I'm just waiting for someone." Almost as if on cue, Norman Osborn enters the building. Two massive bodyguards walk alongside him. He begins to make his way towards the elevator before his path is blocked by Aunt May. "Mr. Osborn." His bodyguards try to move in front of him but Norman motions for them to stop. He eyes Aunt May up and down, a sly smile creeps across his face. "Oh my, who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?" "You know who I am. May Parker." Norman's smile shifts from seductive to sly. "What can I do for you, Ms. Parker?" "Aunt May isn't here to play coy. You know exactly why I am here. This is about Peter." A look of sadness washes over Norman's face. "Ah yes. This must be a difficult time for you." "That is an understatement." "Well, my dear, how can I help you?" "I believe that you have information that can prove Peter innocent." Norman raises an eyebrow. "Oh really? And what information is that?" "Well, I don't know yet." Norman chuckles. "So you stormed all the way over here to confront me about something you are not even sure about?" Aunt May can't respond. She knows that he is right. "Listen, I'm willing to help a fine woman like yourself with your situation. How about you go set an appointment with my receptionist, Jenny, and we can have a formal sit-down and see what we can do." "But…" "I am sorry to cut you off but I'm already late for an important meeting." Norman and his bodyguards push past Aunt May towards the elevator. Aunt May can do nothing but leave. Exterior Oscorp Tower, afternoon. Peter stands on a rooftop across from Oscorp Tower as he watches Aunt May exit the building.
"What are you up to, Aunt May?"
He shakes his head.
"I promised her that I wouldn't do this."
He swings off into the wind. Swoosh. Interior Norman Osborn's office, late afternoon. Spencer Smythe sits nervously across from Norman Osborn, who flips through Spencer's file. "You have a lot of impressive credentials here, Smythe. I think you will be a great fit in our research and development department." Spencer's eyes light up.
Really? Thank you, Mr. Osborn.
"Of course. Your Spider Slayer tech is magnificent." Spencer's eye twitches at the word Slayer. "Once we perfect the prototype and integrate it with our own technology, we will be able to mass produce."
Mass produce?
"Yes, of course. We can sell these Spider Slayers to every major city. Add them to police, military forces, private security, the sky is the limit." Spencer looks sick to his stomach.
"I'm not sure if I want that for my technology."
Norman's friendly expression quickly fades. "Then why are you here?"
For a job.
Norman laughs. "This isn't a job, this is life. We are changing the world over here. Don't you want to be a part of that?"
Of course I do.
"You have a son, right? What's his name?" "Alistair?" Spencer has a look of anger and confusion as his son's name is mentioned.
How do you know my son's name?
"You had to go through a heavy vetting process to even be considered for the job, Smythe. We know everything about you. Everything." Spencer gets the intention behind Norman stressing the everything. He slowly nods.
I see.
"You know, I have a son. He is currently overseas in boarding school but he comes back this summer. I have to do a lot of questionable things to feed my family and keep my brand strong. I have to make the hard choices."
Okay.
"The last thing I want is for my son to ever find out how many times I had to get my hands dirty just to put food on the table. Do you see what I am getting at?" Spencer slowly nods.
I think I do.
"Great. Then welcome to Oscorp. Let's get that SS2 prototype up and running as fast as possible." Exterior New York skyline, dusk. Spider-Man sits on top of a skyscraper. He watches the beautiful sunset over the Manhattan skyline. He feels calm despite the chaos going on in his life. As he sits there, he hears a beep. He reaches in his pocket and pulls out the old smartphone MJ gave him.
Huh, surprised I get Wi-Fi up here on this.
Exterior street, continuous. MJ walks towards her house when her phone suddenly beeps. She pulls it out. Interior Flash's room, continuous. Flash lays on his bed looking through his phone when a notification pops up. He stares at it hard. Watch the hunt. No way. He clicks on the notification and is sent to a live stream of Spider-Man sitting on the skyscraper. Yo-oo. Exterior street, continuous. MJ looks terrified as she stares at her phone and sees Peter. She looks around and realizes that a lot of people around her are watching the same feed. Exterior New York skyline, continuous. Peter opens the link and sees himself in the video.
What?
He turns around to see a drone floating behind him.
This can't be good.
5 more drones come from nowhere and surround Peter.
Yeah, definitely not good.
Peter tingle. He rolls his shoulder out of the way just in time as a dart narrowly misses his face. He turns to see Sergei standing there in his full hunting gear. He is now Kraven the Hunter.
That's actually a pretty cool costume. I'm not even going to lie. Who is your tailor? Jimmy on 45th?
Kraven snarls at Peter.
It is time for you to meet your demise at the hands of Kraven.
I can totally get you a discount if you need.
Do you always talk this much?
Kraven pulls out a spear and begins to charge towards Peter. Peter flips over him as Kraven lunges towards him.
I get talkative when I meet new people. Sorry. It's a nervous tick.
Kraven turns around with uncanny speed, connecting his foot to Peter's chest. Peter flies back into a brick wall.
Silence.
Kraven stalks towards Peter as the drone close in around him. He is met with web to his face as Peter shoots 2 balls at his eyes. Peter flips up to his feet, then webs Kraven's ankles, dragging him to the ground.
Sit tight, now.
Kraven rips the webbing off his face before pulling out his hunting knife and cutting the web around his ankle. He springs to his feet, a fiery look burns deep in his eyes.
This is what I've been waiting for. A true challenge.
He sprints towards Peter with knife in hand. He takes a wild swing towards Peter's neck, who ducks under the blade.
Head, you gotta be careful with sharp objects like that. You will put someone's eye out.
You talk too much.
Kraven kicks Peter in the gut, catching him off guard. He takes another swipe at Peter, this time cutting his arm. Peter recoils from the blow and back flips out of Kraven's range. Exterior street, continuous. MJ looks on in horror as Kraven lurches towards the injured Spider-Man. Oh come on, Pete. Don't make it that easy. Exterior rooftops, continuous. Peter examines the wound before looking towards Kraven moving towards him.
I told you those things were dangerous.
Peter fires a web strand at the hunting knife, pulling it from Kraven's hand. He laughs at the action, only running faster towards Peter. They engage in hand-to-hand combat. At first, Peter is able to keep up with Kraven by using his speed and agility, but Kraven is simply a better fighter than the inexperienced Spider-Man. The drones circle the two as Peter begins to realize he may need to retreat. Interior police station continuous. Jean Dudolph sits at her desk and shuffles through some paper. She hears a knock on her door before Deputy Johnson enters. Jean looks up from her paperwork with a very annoyed look on her face. You are supposed to wait until I tell you to enter. You have to see this. He moves toward her with his phone in hand. He puts it in front of her face and her eyes go large. Find that location and send units there immediately. Jean springs up from her seat. She grabs her gun and badge before running out the door. Exterior rooftops, continuous. Peter decides to stop getting his ass kicked in this fight. He shoots a ball of impact webbing into Kraven's chest, putting enough space between them to run towards the edge of the building. He leaps off and swings into the skyline. The blast from the ball doesn't do much against Kraven's armor. He smirks as he watches Peter go over the edge. He flashes an evil grin as he watches.
Excellent. This will be a true hunt.
The drones take off after Peter, keeping their distance as they film him trying to swing through the city. Peter watches as a drone flies alongside him. He waves at the drone before blasting it with a hit of impact webbing. Kraven looks on as he sees Peter destroy one of his drones. He isn't too happy about that. Peter swings around the street corner as Kraven looks over the edge of the building. He sees 7 police cars pull up. Jean Duolf jumps out of one and runs inside the building.
Too little, too late.
Kraven takes a few steps back before running full speed and leaps off the edge of the building. He flies across the road and lands on the rooftop on the building across the street. Kraven looks back at the building he just jumped from just in time to see Jean Duolf and her men reach the roof. They search the rooftop before realizing that Kraven got away. He laughs before he turns and leaps to the next building in the pursuit of Spider-Man. Exterior streets 2, continuous. Swish. Swoosh. Peter continues to twist and turn through the air as he takes out the drones one by one, leaving only one. Peter tingle. Spider-Man tries to avoid a leaping Kraven as he soars through the air, but Kraven is able to tackle him out of the sky. They slam into a wall of an apartment complex before landing on a random person's balcony. Crash. The remaining drone closes in tight. Exterior/INT, apartment balcony. Blows are exchanged again. Peter is no match for Kraven's fighting skills as Kraven lands a serious blow to Peter's ribcage before backhanding him to the ground.
Have you ever even been in a real fist fight?
Peter coughs.
Well, there was Melvin back in 4th grade. Well, he punched me, I'm not sure if oof.
Kraven kicks Peter in his already bruised ribcage.
Your words will not save you.
What the hell is going on? Kraven turns around to see a 55-year-old man staring at him. He stands in his underwear and a dirty undershirt. He holds a tub of ice cream. Oh my god, you are Kraven the Hunter. And you're Spider-Man. Peter takes advantage of the distraction. He fires 2 strands of web into Kraven's back. Using all of his strength, he flings him over his head and off the balcony. Peter flips to his feet and looks towards the apartment guy.
Sorry about that.
He turns and leaps off the balcony after Kraven, who has already recovered. Exterior street ground level apt, continuous.
If only your skill matched your wit.
That's kind of rude. I think I'm very witty.
Peter goes to fire another blast of impact webbing, but this time Kraven is able to dodge as he sprints towards him. He soars through the air and drop kicks Peter in the chest, knocking him to the ground. He quickly reaches to his belt, pulls out a device and throws it towards Peter. The device shoots out an electric net that wraps around Peter, sending shockwaves through his body. Interior Flash's room, continuous. Flash grimaces as he watches Peter scream in pain. Ooh. Exterior street, continuous. The entire area is watching the fight now as a local restaurant broadcasts the event. MJ feels helpless as she watches Kraven pick up his knife and move towards Peter. Get up, Peter. Exterior rooftops, continuous. The electric net continues to shock Peter until he passes out. Kraven looms over him, knife in hand. The drone flies in for a close-up on Kraven. Kraven smiles as he stares directly into it.
I have captured the vile Spider-Man and have made the city safer for the fine people of New York.
Exterior street, continuous. MJ seems to be on the verge of tears as the large crowd watches Kraven speak to the world.
With this bounty, I still continue to be the world's greatest hunter. No prey is too great.
The crowd watches the screen as Kraven picks up Peter and throws him over his shoulder. Police sirens can be heard getting louder in the background. His charismatic smile burns through the TV screen.
The hunt continues.
The screen cuts to black, only leaving behind Kraven's logo. Interior Flash's room, continuous. Flash looks on in disbelief. He cannot believe that he just watched his favorite superhero, as well as his worst enemy, get defeated and kidnapped. What the hell just happened? Interior Kraven's lair, night. Peter begins to gain consciousness. Only to find himself chained to a wall in his underwear.
What is going on? Where am I?
Kraven seems to be working at his desk, putting together some sort of plaque.
Ah, you are finally awake. Perfect timing.
He picks up the plaque and carries it over to Peter to show him. It is a commemorative plaque featuring Peter's makeshift costume. The words "The Greatest Conquest" etched at the bottom.
You are sick.
On the contrary, young Spider, I have never felt better.
Kraven reaches in his belt and pulls out a strange-looking bottle.
Killing you would have been inhumane. But I can still take your skin.
That's pretty gross.
He lurches towards a helpless Peter.
Despite people's beliefs, I am not a savage. I am more than happy to turn you in for a bounty.
A bounty? To who?
Ha! I don't want to ruin the surprise, young Spider.
Kraven waves the bottle under Peter's nose, causing him to pass out. Interior thedailybugle.net set, night.
This is a thedailybugle.net special report.
J. Jonah Jameson's signature hard stare fires towards the camera lens.
Citizens of New York, I am proud to inform you that you can finally sleep a little safer at night.
A picture-in-picture appears in the corner of the screen replaying Kraven battling with Spider-Man.
The legendary hunter, Sergei Kravenov, also known as Kraven the Hunter, apprehended the man-spider last night in front of 80 million live viewers.
The picture-in-picture zooms in, showing Kraven carrying an unconscious Spider-Man over his shoulder.
While their whereabouts are unknown, I think it is safe to say that Kraven took care of the city's spider problem.
J. Jonah grins at his own joke before continuing.
Keep yourself informed on the situation by checking out thedailybugle.net for the latest updates. Stay vigilant, New York. Jameson out.
Interior hallway to J. Jonah's office, later on. J. Jonah seems pretty damn happy as he whistles his way down the hallway. His demeanor changes when he opens his office door. Interior J. Jonah Jameson's office, continuous. Aunt May sits in the office chair, patiently waiting for J. Jonah. Hello, Mr. Jameson.
Let me guess. Brittany, let you in?
Aunt May nods her head in agreement. She is a lovely lady. You should give her a raise. J. Jonah scoffs at Aunt May as he makes his way to his desk.
Shouldn't you be trying to put money on your nephew's commissary or something?
Enough with the jokes, Jameson. I think you can help save him. J. Jonah snickers.
Save him? Why would I ever do that?
Because he is innocent. I think you know that. I think as much as you hate him, you still want to do the right thing.
You don't know anything about me, sweetie.
I know you have a son. John, right? Was an astronaut? Offended is the best way to describe the look on Jameson's face.
He is an astronaut. What does this have to do with my son?
I know you blame Spider-Man for what happened.
Well, it was his fault.
Aunt May speaks in an even softer tone to counter Jameson yelling. What if Peter was your son? Would you treat him the same? J. Jonah ponders this before he speaks, his tone a little softer now.
Then I would treat him like any other criminal.
Even if you knew deep down he was innocent? J. Jonah's cell phone rings as it sits on his desk. He picks it up and looks at it.
Look, lady, I don't know what you are expecting to happen from this conversation, but your nephew is going to jail for a long time. How about instead of wasting your time with me, you go and figure out when you can do visitation?
Aunt May says nothing as she gives J. Jonah the coldest stare. J. Jonah motions for her to leave. He watches as she gets up from her chair. Once she leaves, he answers the phone. He is silent for a moment as he listens to the person on the other end speak.
Excellent. I'm on my way.
J. Jonah springs up from his seat and grabs his keys before leaving. Interior Oscorp War Room, night. Peter awakes to find himself in a giant empty room. He is wearing a one-piece, blue, prison-like jumpsuit. A one-way mirror overlooks the 4-story high ceilings and all-grey interior.
Why, what the hell?
A booming voice blasts over an intercom into the room.
Welcome, Mr. Parker.
Peter springs to his feet. His head is on a swivel as he examines the room.
What is this place? Who are you?
I can answer the second question for you. My name is Spencer Smythe.
Peter keeps scanning the room for some kind of exit. All he sees is a big silver, titanium door. He moves towards it to try to find a way to open it. No luck.
What is all this?
You are a pain in a lot of people's side, young Parker. Many people would pay a lot of money to have you eradicated.
Interior one-way mirror room, continuous. Spencer holds a remote control in his hand as he gazes out the window at Peter Parker. He stands next to Norman Osborn, who grins from ear to ear.
This is where I come in.
Sergei stands in the corner of the room in silence. Disappointment sits on his face as he watches Spencer fiddle with the remote. Spencer turns to Norman.
We have already extracted Parker's DNA for further research. Do you want to begin the field test?
Actually, I'm waiting on one more person to arrive. As if on cue, J. Jonah Jameson walks into the room. Norman greets him with a smile. Right on time, Jameson. Jameson approaches Norman and stands next to him. He peers through the window at Parker.
This seems a little excessive, doesn't it?
Norman puts a hand on Jameson's shoulder. It's the least I could do for you, Jameson. You have been instrumental in all of this. From running the Mysterio video on your show to making sure the public hates him, you have made it so much easier. Jameson's head shakes up and down in agreement, but his face doesn't quite seem to agree.
It's all about doing the right thing.
Well, I'm sure your son is proud of the man you have become. These words hit Jameson hard.
Norman, I need to ask you a question.
Can it wait until after this demonstration? J. Jonah grimaces.
Gentlemen, if I may.
Norman nods. Spencer pushes a button on the remote. Interior OSCORP War Room, continuous. Peter tingle. He turns towards the big silver door as it begins to open. VRRRR. He moves into a fighting stance as he sees an 8-foot-tall robot walk out of the doorway.
Parker, I would like to introduce you to SS2.
The eyes of the robot light up. A look of nervousness washes over Parker's face as the robot's eyes lock on him. Spencer's voice continues to boom over the intercom.
The SS2 is a vast improvement on the SS1 in every way, shape, and form.
SS2 begins to sprint towards Peter at full speed. Peter jumps high into the air in an attempt to leap over him. SS2 reaches up and grabs Peter by the ankle, swings him around and flings him into a nearby wall. Smack!
SS2 adapts to fighting styles in real time. He has 85 different combinations of attacks and counters. He also has an array of new weapons.
As Peter recovers from hitting the wall, he looks over to see SS2's hand begin to glow as it points towards him.
I feel like I should probably move.
A giant laser cannon blast shoots out of SS2's hand and flies towards Peter. He flips out of the way just in time, the laser narrowly missing him.
And I was right.
Peter lands in a superhero stance. He throws up his hand as if though he is going to shoot his web shooters at SS2, only to discover that they are gone.
Okay, that's a problem.
SS2 charges towards Peter again and takes a wild swing at him. Peter ducks under the blow, then pops back up with a backflip kick to SS2's face. This sends him reeling back. Peter looks up towards the one-way mirror at the top of the room. A look of horror begins to spread across J. Jonah's face.
Norman, I need to know, that footage you gave me of Parker and Mysterio.
Norman's eyes remain locked on Spider-Man fighting SS2 as he responds to Jameson. What about it?
Is it real?
Norman turns to J. Jonah. Does it matter? It did what it needed to do.
That's not the point, Norman. I am a man of integrity, my entire brand and livelihood depends on it.
Norman laughs. Jameson, you gave up your integrity when you started doing that smut talk show. All I did was boost your ratings.
And launched your own private agenda with fake news.
Norman's jolly expression fades. He seems angry now. The agenda is to change the world for the better. Isn't that what you want?
I want to do what's right.
What's right isn't always apparent. J. Jonah shakes his head.
I can't be a part of this anymore.
Kraven raises an eyebrow as he watches the two men quarrel.
Pathetic weak men.
Interior OSCORP War Room. Peter continues to go toe-to-toe with SS2, dodging laser beams and attacks with incredible agility. Without his web shooters, this is really pushing Parker.
I can't keep this up forever, I got to get out of here.
Interior one-way mirror room. What do you mean you can't be a part of this anymore?
This is all wrong. We are torturing a teenager.
A teenager that almost killed your son. J. Jonah shakes his head.
He didn't mean to do that. He was just doing his job.
Interior OSCORP war room, continuous. Peter is losing steam as he continues to jump and move around the room. Eventually, the SS2 is able to grab Peter in a bear hug. He begins to squeeze the life out of Parker.
Ah.
Interior one-way mirror room, continuous. J. Jonah hears Parker screams and looks over to see Parker being squeezed to death.
This has to stop.
He runs over to Spencer and snatches the remote. Jameson smashes it against the ground. Spencer goes wide-eyed. SS2 begins to power down, releasing its grip on Peter.
What are you doing? What's right?
Norman is livid. Are you crazy? I will destroy you.
You won't lay a finger on me, Osborn. I will go public with all of your shady dealings and expose your whole operation.
Norman gives J. Jonah the stare of death. He knows he is right. You son of a... Before he can finish the sentence, SS2 comes crashing into the room through the one-way mirror. Boosh! Peter hurled the entire robot. Spencer is hit directly, getting pinned under the robot. Norman and Jameson are in the wave but are pushed to the side, knocking them out. Sergei, who was off to the side, remains untouched. He looks out of the now gaping hole where the one-way mirror used to be to see Parker forcing open the big silver doors in the war room. He flashes a smiling smirk as he watches Peter escape through the doors.
The hunt continues.
Exterior OSCORP war room, night. Peter manages to escape the building only to find himself in the middle of the forest.
Oh, come on.
Peter looks around the entrance of the building to see a pair of dirt bikes and a sedan. He runs over to the sedan and tries to open it. No luck. He hops on the dirt bike and tries to start it. It doesn't work.
I've operated robotic suits before, I should be able to ride a dirt bike.
He tries again. This time it fires up. The bike wobbles back and forth as Peter begins to move on it before he gets stable and drives off into the forest down a dirt path. Sergei exits the building just in time to see the dirt bike driving off into the night. He cracks his neck and smiles before he takes off sprinting after the bike. Exterior dirt road, night. Peter speeds down the dirt road in the somewhat peaceful night. Peter tingle. Peter looks in the rearview mirror to see Sergei chasing after him, and gaining ground.
You got to be kidding me.
Peter decides to make a sharp turn into the forest. Sergei continues to gain ground on him and follows him into the trees.
You can't run from me, Parker.
Exterior forest, continuous. Peter bobs and weaves through the forest. This was a bad decision, however, as the unbeaten path of the trees only slows him down. Sergei leaps through the air and tackles Peter off the bike. They roll for a moment before Sergei lands on top of Peter, his knife is drawn and ready to strike.
At least I will be able to deliver you the noble death that you deserve.
Sergei attempts to go for Peter's throat. Peter manages to flip Kraven off of him, smashing him into a tree. Peter gets up and runs into the forest. Sergei recovers and gives chase. Exterior forest clearing, continuous. Peter arrives at a clearing, a cliffside with the Hudson River below. Sergei catches up to him, laughing as he sees that he is trapped.
You can never escape me, Parker. I will hunt you down forever. Not just you, but your family as well. Your aunt, your wayward girlfriend, Michelle, all of them.
No.
Peter's eyes go wide at the mention of his family. He lunges at Sergei and manages to strike him across the face and draw blood. Sergei touches the blood on his face and stares at Peter as he tastes it. He calmly walks up to Peter and punches him in the gut, slices his leg and kicks him in the chest, sending Peter reeling back in pain.
You stay away from my family.
Sergei laughs.
Oh, Peter. You are so worried about saving everybody, when you can't even save yourself.
Peter says nothing as Sergei stalks toward him with knife in hand, forcing him backwards. He reaches the edge of the cliff. He glances behind him before he stares back at Sergei. Sergei's eyes go wide as he leaps towards Peter, who jumps off the cliff. Exterior river, continuous. Splash. Peter hits the water hard. It knocks him unconscious as he floats down the river. Sergei looks on from the top of the cliff. Interior one-way mirror room, continuous. J. Jonah wakes up to a destroyed room, his head swivels over to Spencer, who is still knocked out and pinned under the massive SS2. His head remains on a swivel as he looks for Norman. He is nowhere to be found.
That son of a bitch.
J. Jonah pulls himself to his feet, then limps over to Spencer's body. With all of his strength, he is able to roll the SS2 off of him. He attempts to wake Spencer up.
Come on. Get up.
Spencer doesn't respond, he is severely injured. J. Jonah realizes this and attempts to drag him out of the building. Exterior river shore, sunrise. Peter wakes up on the side of the river. Still not all there, he gets to his feet and realizes he is badly cut in his thigh. He remembers what happened.
I got to get to MJ.
He limps up the riverbed, eventually seeing a road. Exterior road, morning. Peter attempts to hitchhike as he walks down the road, but no one is willing to pick up a strange teenager in a all-blue jumpsuit. After several hours of walking, Peter sees a truck stop and makes his way towards it. Exterior truck stop, afternoon. He wanders around the truck stop until he eventually overhears two truck drivers having a conversation. He hides behind a wall and listens. Yeah, I gotta drop this load off in Manhattan before I head home to Jersey. Peter nods. Exterior truck stop, late afternoon. Peter stalks the trucker until he sees him go towards his truck. He leaps to the top of the truck container and lays down flat. The truck takes off down the freeway. Exterior abandoned subway station, evening. Peter stumbles his way into the train yard. He is completely exhausted as he makes his way towards his makeshift home. He opens the train car, only to see that his old suit is gone. He would have to figure that out later. He needs to rest and regroup. He carries his battered body inside the train car, closes the door and immediately passes out when his head hits the pillow. Interior hospital room, evening. J. Jonah looks on as Spencer Smythe lies in the hospital bed, still unconscious. A doctor enters the room with a clipboard. J. Jonah perks up when he sees her.
Any news?
The doctor shakes his head. He is still in a coma. His vitals are stable, but at this point we just have to wait. J. Jonah nods as Alistar Smythe enters the room. He sees his dad and immediately runs towards him.
Dad. Oh my god.
He cries as he hugs his motionless father. J. Jonah makes his way out of the room. Exterior hospital entrance, night. J. Jonah exits the building. He takes a deep breath of fresh air as he pulls out a cigar and lights. As he stands there and takes in the night, a limo pulls up to him. The window rolls down to reveal Norman Osborn. J. Jonah is livid.
You.
Calm down, Jameson.
You left us there to die? You are scum.
Norman shakes his head in disappointment. I am simply a man of preservation. J. Jonah's anger is maxed out.
That's it? I'm going public with everything. You trying to frame Spider-Man, your secret experiments, all of it?
Norman laughs. You aren't going to do that. Not without exposing yourself.
I don't care anymore.
Norman's laughter fades, he can tell Jameson is serious. What about your family? Your reputation? Your business relationships? You are going to throw that all away? J. Jonah flicks his cigar and approaches the limo. He gives Norman the coldest stare he has ever seen.
I'm going to do what's right. Peter Parker is innocent. He doesn't deserve to be hunted like an animal.
Norman shakes his head. I don't care what happens with Peter Parker anymore. We already got what we need from him. Do whatever you want, Jameson. If you want to destroy your life, be my guest, but that's not going to stop Oscorp. Norman rolls up the window and speeds off, leaving J. Jonah in the dust. Interior Jean Doodolf's office, morning. Jean Doodolf massages her brow as Aunt May sits across from her at her desk, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but it was really dumb of you to go to Osborn and then Jameson about all of this. Aunt May nods. I didn't know what else to do. You were supposed to call me when you found Parker. I don't know if you were one of the 80 million people in the loop when it happened, but my nephew was kidnapped by some man in a jungle print jumpsuit live across the world. Jean relents, she realizes that Aunt May is hurting. Look, we can come up with a plan. We can still save Peter. Aunt May shakes her head. There is no way we are getting close enough to Osborn. I know that Jameson is keeping something from me. His hate for Spider-Man is personal. The Coney Island incident? Aunt May nods in agreement. Peter still stresses about that day all the time. He doesn't think about the number of lives he saved that day, just the ones that got hurt. Jean's face suggests that she relates to this. It can be hard, this whole fighting crime thing. He never worries about the danger he puts himself in. That's what it means to be a hero. Jean's phone gives a notification tone. She picks it up and reads the message. Her eyes go wide as she smiles. It looks like you may have gotten through to Jameson. Aunt May perks up. What do you mean? Jean reaches for the remote and turns on the nearby TV. On screen is J. Jonah Jameson. A solemn expression sits on his face. Interior the dailybugle.net set. J. Jonah stares hard into the camera as he talks. The lower third read Peter Parker is innocent.
We, here at the dailybugle.net always believe in doing what is right. We are here for the people, we are the people.
J. Jonah pauses before he continues.
This is why I would personally like to state that we have 100% confirmed that the footage of Spider-Man murdering Mysterio that was aired exclusively on our show is fake. We believe that we were being duped by nefarious sources for the sake of personal gain.
Interior Jean Doolf's office. Aunt Mays looks at the TV with shock written all over her face. My God, he does have a heart. Interior the dailybugle.net set. Silence hangs in the air for a moment before he speaks again. It is clear that Jameson is thinking long and hard about his next words.
We don't know who was responsible for doctoring and sending us the footage, as it came from an anonymous source. This is also the same source that identified Peter Parker as the man behind the mask. This also hasn't been entirely confirmed but is likely still credible. Just know that the dailybugle.net will not stop until we figure out who these evil people destroying lived are. Believe that?
J. Jonah continues to stare into the camera, this time his face a little more sincere.
We sincerely apologize to Peter Parker, his family, and his friends for any inconvenience this may have caused. Please continue to follow the dailybugle.net for further updates on the issue. Jameson out.
The camera cuts out, leaving behind the dailybugle.net logo. Interior M.J.'s room, night. MJ sits on her bed as she sews something. You can tell that she has been crying. Her phone goes off. She looks at it and sees that it's from Ned. Hey, MJ. Did you hear the news? Peter is off the hook. MJ smirks before typing back. Yeah, but they haven't let him go yet, have they? It takes a moment before Ned responds. Damn. You are right. MJ just shakes her head and tosses her phone. She goes back to sewing until she hears a knock on the window. She turns to the window to see Peter waving at her. She pops up, dashes to the window and opens it. Oh my God, Peter. MJ hugs Peter. They kiss but only for a moment before MJ pulls away and stares at Peter. Are you okay? Peter nods, then collapses in M.J.'s arms.
I'm just glad to see you okay.
MJ looks down at Peter's leg and notices that it is cut and wrapped up in an old t-shirt. Peter, you are hurt.
Nothing I can't handle.
MJ shakes her head. BS. Get inside and let me clean your wound. Interior M.J.'s room, later. Peter lies on the bed as MJ sits next to him. She bandaged his wound and got him out of the blue jumpsuit.
My suit. It was stolen.
MJ smirks as she moves towards the edge of the bed and pulls out Peter's old suit. She hands it to him. I took it from your train car after I thought that you were going to be in jail for the rest of your life. I made a few Changes to it. Peter holds the suit up to see new white stitching lining the spider emblem, which now has longer legs and a narrow head. The black patches are more narrow and the web overlay glimmers with a grey silky texture. All the features you had on there seem to be shot. The only thing that works on that suit are the web shooters. Peter smiles.
That's all I really need.
So Kraven took you all the way up to some strange lab in upstate New York? Peter nods.
Yeah, that place was weird. I think whoever owns that place does some pretty messed up stuff there.
Well, you are safe now. Jameson cleared your name to the public. Kraven shouldn't be chasing you anymore, right? Peter shakes his head in disagreement.
I think he wants me more than ever. I'm the one that got away. His greatest catch means nothing if I'm free.
MJ ponders this for a moment. He hasn't gone live since he kidnapped you. Peter nods in agreement.
That's because he can't. Not while I'm still out here.
The doorbell rings and MJ springs to her feet and runs to the bedroom door. Peter looks nervous.
Who is that?
I'll be right back. MJ leaves Peter in the room by himself. He sits there as his eyes take in MJ room. He has never been in it like this. MJ returns to the room. Behind her is Aunt May. Her eyes light up when she sees Peter. Peter. She runs to Peter and hugs him. Tears well up in her eyes. I really thought I lost you. Peter returns the hug to his Aunt May before his eyes land on MJ, who looks on with a gleam in her eye. I called her over here the first chance I got.
Thank you.
Aunt May looks down at Peter's wound. Peter. That's a pretty bad cut. It looks like it came close to an artery. You need to rest. Peter ignores Aunt May's request.
I can't rest knowing there's some lunatic out there possibly trying to hunt you two down. I have to do something.
MJ gives Peter a look of disbelief. You are in no condition to stop him by yourself. Let us help you. A notification goes off on M.J's phone. It's from Kraven's channel. Exterior Aunt May's house, continuous. The footage from the live stream shows the camera pointed at Aunt May's house. A familiar voice speaks over the shot.
It looks like she isn't home yet. I'll wait for her here.
The camera moves to the front of the house where Kraven can be seen sitting on the steps. Interior M.J's room, continuous. Is he really just gonna sit there? What an asshole. The anger rises in Peter as he tries to get out of bed. As he goes to get dress.
I have to go stop him.
Peter. You can't be that stupid. It is obviously a trap. Peter grimaces as he gets to his feet.
I have to protect you.
Peter. We don't need your protection, we need you to be alive. Peter doesn't back down.
What about Uncle Ben? He didn't need my protection?
These words cut Aunt May. She lowers her energy. Peter, look. You might be a superhero but you are still human. I can't fault you for that. The words simply do not register with Peter as he continues to put on his new suit. Tears well up in his eyes.
I'm not going to let that happen again.
He makes his way to the window only to be blocked by MJ. Peter, don't do this. We can find a better way. Peter's voice turns cold and stern as he stares hard at MJ.
MJ. I need you to move, please.
She hesitates before she finally gives in and moves aside. Fine, Peter. Do what you want. Peter hops onto the window sill. He turns to Aunt May and MJ.
Stay here. I'm going to end this now.
He puts on his mask and swings out the window. Aunt May and MJ look at each other. Are we really going to? Hell, no. Aunt May pulls out her phone and dials a number. Who are you calling? You'll see. Get your jacket, we are going to my house. Exterior Aunt May's house. Kraven sits patiently on the steps of Aunt May's house in a crisscross position with his eyes closed. He sniffs the air and smiles.
Parker.
Thwib. Thwib. Two strands of webbing land on either side of Kraven. He looks up to see Spider-Man flying towards him feet first. His feet crack into Kraven's face, sending him rolling backwards. Peter immediately jumps on him and begins to pummel him with overhead strikes to his face and hands. As his fists crash into Kraven's face, Kraven just laughs.
You are so pathetic.
Kraven punches Peter's thigh, sending him reeling in pain. Kraven kicks him off of him, then flips to his feet.
Now it is time for the main event.
6 drones fly into the area and turn on spotlights. IN/EXT everywhere, continuous. Phones across the city get notifications. People in bars, gyms, and grocery stores all pull out their phones to see a live stream of Spider-Man facing off with Kraven the Hunter. Exterior Aunt May's house, continuous. Kraven laughs.
Let the world see me destroy you. This time for real.
He lunges towards Peter. Peter leaps over him and lands behind him. He fires a strand of webbing, tripping up Kraven. Kraven's face smacks into the ground.
This is going to end differently this time.
Kraven continues to laugh. He pulls out his knife and cuts the web.
You are going to defeat me with the same tricks? Impossible. You didn't defeat me.
A glop of web hits Kraven in the eyes. He screams in pain as Spider-Man runs up to him and cracks him across the face. Sirens can be heard in the distance.
That was for kidnapping me.
Peter kicks Kraven in the ribs hard.
That one was or threatening my family.
Kraven reaches for his knife. Spider-Man sees this and webs his wrist down. He leans in close to Kraven.
And this is for me.
Peter gives Kraven a powerful punch across the jaw, blood splatters everywhere. Kraven keeps laughing. The drones move in tighter. A series of police cars pull up to Aunt May's house. In the lead car, Jean Doolf jumps out with Aunt May getting out of the passenger seat. She draws her gun. Everyone freeze. Kraven continues to chuckle.
Look at you. A savage. Just like me.
I am nothing like you.
Look around, Spider-Man.
Peter looks around to see the drones, the entire police force and Aunt May all watching him as he stands over a incapacitated Kraven. The drones begin to spread out again, one of them hover above the police force. While he looks around, Kraven takes his free hand, reaches to his belt and pushes a button. He also takes out a small blade and conceals it.
No. Everybody get down.
Peter tingle. The drone above police cars explodes. It sends shrapnel and fire in all direction, hitting some of the police officers and knocking back Aunt May. Look out! Get away from the cars! The police officers begin to scramble as a second drone flies directly into a police car, causing it to explode. Peter looks on in horror. He sees a third drone flying directly towards Aunt May. He fires off some webbing and hits the drone. After a quick swing, he flings it high into the air and it explodes, raining shrapnel and fire on the police officers. Peter leaps into action. He grabs 2 officers before the drone wreckage hits. He places them safely aside before Peter tingle. 2 more drones come flying full speed at Peter. He leaps but the drones follow him. He swings down the street and the drones give chase.
I got to get these out of here.
Meanwhile, Kraven uses his blade to cut the webbing off his wrist. He stands to his feet and smiles and he sees the police officers in disarray. Jean notices Kraven and her eyes go wide. Squad! We got company! Kraven begins to stalk towards the police officers. Light him up! Non-lethal! All of the officers open fire. Bullets bounce off Kraven's armor-plated hunting suit. He begins to sprint towards the officers. Peter continues to be chased down by the drones. He decides to circle back around. He flips and zigzags across the air until the drones crash into each other and explode.
That was easy.
He swings back to Aunt May's house to find Kraven fighting and effortlessly defeating members of the police force. Peter lands a few feet out and starts to sprint towards the melee only to be stopped by Aunt May.
Aunt May. What are you doing?
Kraven turns his attention to May. He tosses aside the cops and laughs. Peter, you need to get out of here. Go meet MJ at the train yard.
MJ. Is she okay?
Aunt May nods. She is fine. We have a plan. Just go. Peter looks over Aunt May's shoulder to see Kraven continue to take on the police force. Jean kneels behind a squad car as she reloads her gun.
I can't leave you here, Aunt May.
Aunt May takes Peter's hand. You need to trust me, Peter. I'll be okay. Go. Now. Peter hesitates then nods. He turns around and swings off into the night. Aunt May turns and begins to stomp towards Kraven, who is currently choking a police officer. Hey asshole.
You are quite the brave woman, unlike your coward nephew who is always running.
One of the two remaining drones flies in close as Aunt May walks right up to Kraven. You call yourself the world's greatest hunter but your prey constantly escapes you. You are nothing. Kraven actually seems offended by this. Aunt May knows she struck a nerve. Look at you. You are fighting police officers instead of hunting your prey. People all over the world are watching you act like a clown. Aunt May motions to the drone. Kraven looks at it then back at May. He grabs her by the throat and lifts her high in the air.
I don't care about those people. That's not why I am here.
Aunt May struggles to speak as Kraven holds her. Be bullshit. Jean pops up from behind the car, her gun pointed at Kraven. Put her down, Kravenov.
Tell me where the spider is now or I will snap your neck in front of the entire world.
Aunt May relents to Kraven's request. The old train yard, on 148th. Kraven tosses Aunt May aside, she lands on the ground hard. Kraven sprints off in the direction of the train yard, the two remaining drones follow him in hot pursuit. Jean runs to Aunt May and kneels next to her. Are you okay? Aunt May coughs before speaking. Why yeah, I'm okay. I hope your plan works. Me too. Exterior abandoned subway station, night. Peter sees MJ standing in an open area. He lands in front of her.
MJ. What is going on? Are you okay?
I'm fine, Peter. Just laying a trap for the hunter.
What do you mean?
MJ flashes a light towards a rooftop, a light shines back at her. Peter looks confused. We have the rest of the police force here. 4 snipers, SWAT team with electric nets, everything. Peter shakes his head.
No, no, no. Kraven is too smart for that. He is going to know this is a setup.
This is the best move we got.
You got to get somewhere safe. He can be.
Peter tingle. He leaps toward MJ pushing her out of the way. A drone flies in and explodes right next to them.
Get down.
A shadowy figure can be seen jumping from rooftop to rooftop, eliminating each sniper. It eventually lands in front of Peter and MJ. It's Kraven. And he is mad as hell. The last drone floats in above the melee, broadcasting the stream to the world.
You have to use traps and snipers to defeat me. You are pathetic.
The 4-man SWAT unit moves in on Kraven. Kraven moves like the ghost of a wild beast. He soars through the air and pounces on the lead SWAT man. He then reaches to his belt, grabs a blade and throws it into the neck of the next member. Peter turns to MJ. He knows things are about to get really ugly.
MJ, get out of here now.
MJ runs off behind a train car as Peter runs towards Kraven. Sirens can be heard in the distance. She knows more help is coming, they just have to hold out. A third member of the SWAT teams tries to fire the electric net shotgun at Kraven but he is too fast. Kraven sidesteps the blast then stabs the SWAT team member in the ribs. He tosses him towards the train car that MJ stands behind. The electric net gun slides to her feet. Kraven cleans his blade with his sleeve as he stalks towards the last SWAT team member, who looks terrified.
Don't worry. This will be quick.
As Kraven goes for the killing blow, 2 strands of webbing grab his arms and pull him back. As Kraven turns around, he is met with a fist to the face as Peter delivers a powerful punch to his nose, breaking it. Kraven stumbles back dazed and confused from the hit. Peter seizes the opportunity, delivering a series of punches and blows to Kraven before knocking him to the ground. Kraven checks his nose for blood then smiles at Peter.
Very good, Spider.
Peter shoots his webbing at Kraven but he rolls out of the way then leaps towards Peter. He hits him with a combination of blows before slicing his arm.
But not good enough.
Kraven uppercuts Peter in the jaw, then flails his knife again, slicing Peter across the chest and face. Kraven kicks him to the ground. Peter is in pretty bad shape. Kraven stands over him.
You aren't worthy to carry the spirit of the hunter.
Kraven goes in for the kill. Peter closes his eyes. His end is here. Peter opens his eyes to Kraven wrapped up in an electric net. Behind him, MJ stands with the recently fired shotgun in her hand. The time is now. Peter springs to his feet and wraps up Kraven in webbing. He swings him into a nearby brick building and continues to web him up, completely covering him in layers of webbing from head to toe. Peter and MJ look on in silence as the massive glop of web squirms and struggles before slowing down to an eventual stop. Is he?
I don't know.
Peter tingle. Peter turns around to see the final drone making a kamikaze dive right for him. He dives out the way and webs the drone before accidentally swinging it into the same building that Kraven is attached to, causing it to explode and crumble on top of Kraven. Peter drops to the floor and passes out. MJ runs to him. Peter. Sirens cut through the night at multiple squad cars and ambulances pull up. Jean and Aunt May hop out of the car. Jean goes to check the rubble as Aunt May runs to the aid of Peter and MJ. She can see that Peter is in bad shape. We have to get him help now. A first response team put Peter on a stretcher. MJ is in tears. Peter flashes her a smile.
I'll be okay, trust me.
Peter is carted off to the ambulance. Jean examines the rubble. Kraven is nowhere to be found. He got away. Son of a bitch. Super, 2 weeks later. Interior the dailybugle.net set. J. Jonah Jameson sits across from Jean Duolf as he interviews her.
Ms. Duolf, we are 2 weeks into the manhunt for Sergei Kravinov, also known as Kraven the Hunter, for his murderous rampage against your police force weeks ago. Do you have any updates for the people of New York?
Jean nods. Well, we raided Mr. Kravinov's studio and home last week and found substantial clues as to where he might be. We are hoping to bring him to justice soon.
I see. What about Spider-Man? He has been AWAL since his encounter.
I've been in touch with Spider-Man. He is taking a much-needed vacation after his battle with Kraven and will return to help the city in no time. Jameson scoffs at Jean.
You support that menace? He may not have been guilty of previously accused crimes, but he is still a danger to the city. Peter Parker must be brought to justice.
Peter Parker? You are still running with that narrative? Rest assured that Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. He is just a scared teenager whose life you helped ruin. Shoddy journalism. Jameson is taken aback by the statement.
Ms. Duolf, I will not have you come on my show and disrespect my journalistic abilities.
Well, do you have any real evidence to support your claim? Silence. Jameson can't say yes.
Well, no. But trust me when I say.
Trust you? I'm sorry, Mr. Jameson. That's a little hard to do after you made a 17-year-old boy public enemy #1 and caused a raving lunatic to hunt him down.
I'm not the one being interviewed here.
Well, I have nothing else to say at this time. Jean unclips her microphone before walking off stage. Jameson looks stunned for a moment before he turns to the camera.
We will be right back.
Interior M.J.'s room, evening. MJ and Peter lie in bed as Peter reads a brochure for Empire State University. He looks surprisingly well healed, only a small scar sits on his face from Kraven's slash.
I honestly have no idea how I'm supposed to afford all of this.
MJ laughs at Peter. You are a genius, you can probably get a scholarship, no problem.
I haven't even started to apply for any.
Well, you better get on it.
What about you? How are you going to pay for college?
MJ shrugs. I have some money saved up. Plus my parents are going to help. Also, I'm gonna have to get a job.
You can keep working for the Bugle.
This wasn't considered by MJ for some reason.
Yeah, I guess I never actually considered it as a career. I was just there to help you.
Peter smiles big at MJ.
Save yourself.
MJ playfully hits Peter in the arm before they kiss. MJ breaks the kiss and gives Peter a sly, suspicious look. Something just isn't quite right. Interior Oscorp Laboratory hallway, night. Norman Osborn walks down the hallway towards the lab. He looks tired and stressed. He has definitely lost a few nights of sleep. He reaches a door, the words Professor Warren, head of biochemistry sit on a small marquee as he enters. Interior Professor Warren's lab, continuous. Professor Warren sits over a microscope as he analyzes a slide of DNA. He is startled by Norman's voice. How have things been progressing, Dr. Warren? Professor Warren smiles. Fantastic. Our sample has successfully assimilated itself into its natural habitat without anyone noticing. Norman nods in approval. And the other specimens? Not quite as perfect, but still viable. Professor Warren hits a button, revealing 5 clones of Peter Parker inside of cryogenic tubes. They all remain asleep. After a few more tests, they will be ready for deployment. Perfect. What about the original? Professor Warren laughs. He is a feisty one for sure, but we need to keep him alive for now. A loud thud can be heard from the wall in front of Norman and Professor Warren. There he is now. He must be awake. Professor Warren hits another switch. The steel wall slides up and reveals Peter Parker. He sees Norman and Professor Warren and runs towards the glass. He punches the glass as hard as he can. It cracks but doesn't break. Peter screams. Cut to black. And